How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review. Today we're going to be reviewing this 2021 Lotus Evora GT. Now before we actually move on to the review, I do have to give a quick shout out to Lotus of North Jersey for letting me drive this car today. I'll basically leave a link to both this car's listing as well as Lotus's website. Honestly, this thing is an absolute blast to drive. I drove it here. And I can tell you right now that like this review is going to be a lot of fun. And again, this car is brand new. It's a 2021 model, so definitely a huge thank you to them. And if you are seriously looking for Evora GTs or any other Lotuses for that matter, definitely go check out their website. Now, the first thing that I really want to talk about during this review is just the overall design and the spec of this specific Lotus Evora GT. I absolutely fell in love with it the first second I saw it. Like, they did have a couple different Evora GTs on the lot that were different colors, but me, like this metallic racing green, I'm absolutely in love with it. And I do think that it does hold true to its heritage, obviously, like British racing green, and also the way that the solar yellow kind of accent stripes in the middle tie into the Lotus badge. And of course, if you go along these sides, you can see the yellow brake calipers on this specific spec. I mean, I don't know, I think the whole thing just looks absolutely beautiful, and especially in the sun, because the green kind of like changes colors in the sun and it almost looks a little bit lighter than how it looks on camera. But again, this entire spec is just an absolutely beautiful spec. And also, I do really like the overall outline and again design and body of these Evora GTs. I cannot get over the rear. I almost like the rear more than I like the front, which, I mean, honestly, like, how can you argue it? Because all the carbon fiber in the back right here, the nice big diffuser, as well as the single mid-exit exhaust right there. I also really like the designs of these holes right here, right behind the rear wheels. I would have to say, though, probably owning this car, I mean, just me driving it around, you can kind of see the dirt and the dust and crap that gets stuck up in there. So that could definitely be a pain, especially if someone's going to drive this thing for a decent amount of miles. But one thing I do honestly love about Lotus's brand is those vents, these vents like along the side here, and of course the vents in the front. All of it is completely functional, and I feel like with a lot of these Lotus cars, function really dictates form. And honestly, I love cars like that. You see that a lot, like with the new Ford GTs, how they're designed. And if you haven't checked out that review, I did a review on a 2019 Ford GT. But I mean, cars like that and a lot of like McLarens that you see where all the vents are completely functional and everything just kind of flows. I honestly don't think that there's a better design strategy in the world. Now, another thing that makes this car really fun to drive is the fact that it is mid-engined, it is fairly light, and the wheelbase is actually just at 101.4 inches. And actually the curb weight, which was honestly surprising to me because I thought it would be right around like 2,700 pounds, it's actually right under 3,200 pounds, right at 3,175 pounds. And honestly, that's not that light, especially for like a car this size, which was like very, very surprising to me. But I mean, still 3,200 pounds with the power that this car is making is still a blast to drive. And also, moving along to the wheel setup on this Evora GT, I really like the black alloy wheels. These are obviously the factory alloy wheels, and it is actually a staggered setup from factory. So there's 19-inch wheels in the front and then 20-inch wheels in the back, and they are wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, which we all know are extremely sticky tires. And in the front, they're 245s by 35s by 19s. And then in the rear, they're actually 295s by 30s by 20s. So this car is definitely going to stick with those 295s in the rear. And again, it does help that it is a mid-engine car, so the weight distribution is really, really good. And also, it's completely independent suspension all the way around. So again, this thing handles like an absolute dream. And now, popping, I guess, the rear hood, you actually have to come in here, and both that button as well as the gas cap button is right in the driver's side door. You can see the gas cap kind of just shoots right open, which is definitely pretty convenient. And then lifting this up, also I do really love the rear spoiler. I'm sure I mentioned that before when I was talking about the rear of this car, But back here you can see the 3.5 liter double overhead cam, 4 valve per cylinder V6 engine that actually powers this thing. This engine is a 2GR engine, and it is sourced from Toyota. You can see Toyota parts underneath the hood, like right there. And also this engine is of course transversely mounted. Now you can actually get this car equipped with the 6-speed manual transmission or the 6-speed automatic. I had to review a manual. You can see I kind of just showed you guys right there, but I mean, this thing shifts phenomenal. And this engine actually does produce a peak 416 horsepower at 7,000 RPMs and 317 foot-pounds of torque at 3,500 RPMs, which again is delivered through that 6-speed manual, and it just gives a fantastic driving experience. I honestly cannot get over how this car handles on the road. And also quickly, I did want to go over some of your, I guess, storage space. You do actually have a decent amount of space back here. Obviously in cars like this, you're not going to go on a crazy road trip or anything like that. And then even moving on to the front, you do have your kind of like front trunk, which does have a decent amount of storage space, but I know you guys probably don't want to hear about that. So now moving on to the interior, I absolutely love these fixed carbon back seats. You can tell like all that is real carbon fiber over the kind of like door sill covers right here. And this specific spec is actually a 2+2, so you do have 2 rear seats, but I mean, like they're more shelves and less seats. And I'm showing you, yeah, I can't even fit in here. My leg's sticking out. There's no, yeah, I can't even fit in. So I mean, unless it's like a, you know, like a little kid or something like that, there's literally no leg room. So I don't honestly see the point in getting a 2+2. And also the fact that the 2+0 and the 2+2 specs don't have any, you know, price difference. Like it's not like an extra feature or anything like that. But again, I do absolutely love this interior, and I'm actually gonna take a seat in the driver's seat right now. Also like little accents right here, like the color match, the metallic racing green right here on the inside. I love the kind of like leather Alcantara steering wheel with the racing line right in the center. And for the most part, Lotus is kind of known for this, but it's honestly pretty minimalist in this interior. Like it's not like crazy buttons everywhere. I like the kind of button design right here with the hazards, sport mode, exhaust button, and everything like that. And also, I didn't mention before, but this exhaust is actually the standard exhaust. It's not the titanium exhaust. But to actually start up this car is pretty interesting. First, I'm actually gonna roll down the windows so you guys can hear the standard exhaust, because again, even though it is a standard exhaust, it still sounds amazing. But basically, clutch down like any other manual, you actually turn the key to the 2nd position, and then you press the engine start button. If you do it in any other order, it won't start up. And you kind of have to just let it sit for a little bit. That's why I'm starting it up right now. Normally you do actually get a blue light up there, which basically says that the water temp's not, or the water's not, it's not up to temperature pretty much. But since I've been kind of driving this before and starting it and stopping it, it's up to temp and it's ready to go. But anyways, moving on to the center, you can also see that this is all paint matched. That's another option. And I really, really love the very simple, again, minimalist design on the shift knob. Silver. The gearbox on this thing is extremely notchy. I mean, you could tell the throw is not that long at all. And I do also actually like the badge that they put right here. You can see hand built in England. All these Lotuses are hand built in England. Now, if I'm going to rip on this interior for one thing, probably the most noticeable thing is the visibility. I mean, you look in the rear view mirror right there, it's just all engine. You look over here and that kind of side mirror is half blocked by the actual car itself. So you do have this full mirror, and this is good, but that's kind of like a quarter blocked, and then you're really not seeing much out of the rear view. And of course, if you look to your sides, you're going to have, it's especially going to be bad if there's a passenger here. So that is definitely one thing that's pretty bad about this car, but I feel like pretty much all mid-engine cars have pretty bad visibility. But anyways, guys, and now I'm actually going to take this thing out for a drive and show you guys my initial reactions. All right, guys, so I don't know if you could tell, but I was just sweating a lot during the walk around. The gauge right here is reading 102 degrees outside, so it's a very hot day, but I'm still gonna roll the windows down for you guys so you can get that engine noise. About this car though is that the catch point for the clutch or whatever is very low, so if you're not careful you definitely will stall this out. But I mean, besides that, I mean, like, once you're actually going, it's not really incredibly jerky. Yeah, but this thing just pulls so good, and it handles and takes corners absolutely amazing. Plus the sounds that you get from this thing, I don't know if the camera's actually picking it up that well, but the engine sounds right behind you are just absolutely amazing. The intake sounds, the sound even when you shift and it engages in gear. I'm very glad that I'm driving one in manual, because that's just so awesome. And then the downshift, this gearbox is so nice. While I was researching this thing, basically a reoccurring theme, like, a lot of people were saying that the manual is just such a good car, and even I guess the automatic too, but a lot of people were talking about this gearbox and they were going on and on and on about it. And honestly, it definitely lives up to the hype. I mean, once you're actually driving it, there's no real good way to describe it. It's just, it's very, very race car-esque. I mean, this thing is a race car. I mean, I know it's illegal, it's a production car, but I mean, deep down, like, underneath the skin of this thing, it's a full-blown race car. Sound weird, but it still feels like a rear-wheel drive car. You still get a little bit of oversteer, definitely not too much though, and for the most part, like, it handles so good though. I mean, I love driving all-wheel drive cars because of how good those things handle for the most part, but like, this thing, it's just absolutely amazing. For the money too, I mean, you can pick one of these up for right around $100,000. I'm pretty sure like the base is like 96 and change. I think this one is spec'd out to like 105, maybe closer to 110, but still, I mean, for the money, it's still a lot of money for a car, but when compared to its competitors, this thing is an absolute steal. I mean, a lot of people kind of debate back and forth whether, you know, you should consider Lotus as a supercar brand. Me personally, I 100% think that they're, you know, a supercar brand. I think this car is a supercar. I love the older Elises, but I mean, still, as a more, I guess, entry-level supercar, this thing is just an absolute blast to drive. And you guys can probably tell, but I do have the exhaust opened up right now. Once you put it in sport mode, it automatically does open the exhaust, but you can still toggle it using that button that I showed you guys before. And also, actually going back to the price of this car, right around $100,000, you might be saying, oh, well, you know, why is it so cheap? It doesn't make a, you know, tremendous amount of power. It still makes more than enough, and you can probably tell that I'm having a lot of fun with this thing. but a lot of like the interior pieces that aren't really Alcantara or leather are all pretty much plastic, which me personally, I don't mind at all. I'd rather have a manufacturer cheap out on something like this middle steering wheel cover, which you can probably tell is a little bit rattly, or like the door card. Or me personally, I'd rather have the, you know, manufacturer cheap out on something like that as opposed to, you know, something in the drivetrain. But yeah, Lotus definitely didn't waste a single dollar when it came to R&D and design on this car, because I mean, just you could feel how it drives. It's so well balanced. Guys, like always, thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.